thanks for staying with us on the program this morning as we look to delve into the conversations making the rounds alongst topical issues in the news. Well, we have joining us on the program via phone call this morning, Mr. Sam Otuoye, who is the business editor of the New National Star newspaper. Hello, Mr. Sam. Good morning to you and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much and good morning to Nigerians.
Now, let's begin with one of the prominent issues in the news following President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's state visit to Anambra, where he commissioned a number of projects. The president was on record asking Nigerians for more patience, as he said that he was wrestling economic monsters. He promised that the renewed hope mandate will be delivered to Nigerians for better governance and quality of life. Well, what do you make about this statement from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that is now eliciting reactions from Nigerians?
Yeah, thank you so much. We've been talking about all the reforms he has brought along with him. The subsidy removal, the floating of the naira, and the tax reforms and all of those. And he has been promising, telling Nigerians to exercise patience. The Nigerians are really getting run out of patience, because this is over 2 years down the line he came into office, and people thought he was actually coming with a renewed hope. But the renewed hope is seeming like failing them. Yes, patience is a virtue, as it were, but not to the extent of people dying and going to bed hungry, because that is the situation we find ourselves, Nigerians find themselves now, most Nigerians. The level of insecurity is a major issue where lives are lost on daily basis. And talking about the food and other things that are not provided, the high cost of fuel and all of those, I don't think the president has done well with all these promises and all this patience paradigm. He needs to up his game. He needs to make Nigerians begin to see change as in the renewed form, as it were. You know, so it is actually becoming a platitude that every time the president is asking Nigerians to exercise patience, things will get better and all of those. I think he's enough of that platitude.
Now, Mr. Sam, as business editor, let's talk about some of the business implications of certain policy directions of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. For one, it's been the chaotic exchange rates since the decision to float the naira. It's been one of those controversies that even Mr. Peter Obi has pointed to, asking that where were the persons who protested against the then Goodluck Jonathan administration for daring to want to remove fuel subsidy, and even back then when the exchange rate was nowhere near 500 naira to a dollar. What do you make about this exchange rate situation that we're in and its effects on businesses?
Yes, you know, thank you so much. You know, there's a clear line to exchange rate. A country that is not exporting, a country that is not producing, will always have an exchange rate issue. So that is in the foundation of exchange rate issue. So the truth about the matter is, floating the naira without the supply side is an error. And I don't know, some of the things he has done since he came in, they have been alleged to be his personal volition, his personal decision, and not, advisor's decision to him. Because I wonder if any economist who could have told him to float the naira without taking care of the supply end of it. So that is an error on his own. And nothing has changed since then, because no production going on. It has been this oil and oil in controversy, as it were. Dangote came out and a lot of controversies. The importation of oil is still there. No production is taking place in Nigeria. And there's no way the exchange rate situation will change. So floating the naira as a policy is not the issue. You must back up your policies with evidential, with substantial, what do you call it now? Backups, as it were, right? You don't you must be sure the end of that policy from the beginning of the policy. That's the problem we're having here. Looking as if we are visionless.
Now,
I think we need to address that.
The president, dubbing his vision, he said, quoting his time as Lagos State Governor, that he was able to take the Atlantic Ocean in Lagos and ensure of the Eco-Atlantic city in terms of the industrialization drive in Lagos, and was asking that Nigerians be rest assured that he can replicate that across Nigeria. Do you think it is a good historical record? And what does this portend for his pledge to turn around the fortunes of Nigerians' economic prosperity?
Okay, I didn't hear you clearly about all those miracles he says he did in Lagos. Yes, but are we seeing it in Nigeria? Sitting as the president of this country, is he actually replicating all those miracles he says he did in Lagos? Lagos is just a state. Yes, it's easier to turn around a state than a whole nation, because at this point he's dealing with about 36 states. So it's not the same game. That's the wrong perception of economic situation. When you manage your family, you provide food for them, take some decisions, do logistics, it's a different ball game. When you are coming to a community to lead the community, it's not the same system. It's not the same strategy. So I think he needs to rethink the strategy. It's not a Lagos state strategy. This is Nigeria. This is a country of 36 states. So I don't know. Taking pride in what he did in Lagos and thinking replicating it in Nigeria will work is not true. In any way, socially, economically, and otherwise, is not true. So the earlier he starts to re-engineer, to refocus, to evaluate, his policies and the outcomes, the better for all of us, including you, the DBN guy. So we really need to do something about it, and he needs to do it as fast as possible. Going to Anambra to commission projects, very wonderful. Yes, it shows, national cohesion, national unity. After all, Anambra is not a APC state. It's good. It shows that he's the father of the country. No matter the state, no matter the party.
It's important that you cited that Anambra is not an APC state, because we also saw some political inclinations following his visit, where the governor and the Anambra APGA endorsed President Bola Tinubu as the party's presidential candidate going into 2027. A lot of students of political economics and history are wondering how this works.
Yes. It will actually work. You know why? APGA does not have any presidential candidate at any time. Even when the bring forward one is a non-issue. They're not serious about it. It's just a mere regression. So because APGA is a one-party state, they cannot produce a president. So any president in power, that's the right thing to do. You support the president in power so that the president in power can support you. Given that Soludo is going into an election this year, he needs federal might. He needs federal support to win the election. So he has done what he is supposed to do by adopting the President Tinubu. That's the political alignment that is real and factual. So I think that is in order. For any political scientist or student of politics to say, why should he do that? I think he's wrong.
Now, some of the permutations, Mr. Sam, some of the permutations and calculations is because Anambra is the hometown of Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate, Peter Obi. And if you have some of his kinsmen already aligning to support President Bola Tinubu's re-election, does this weaken home support for the likes of Peter Obi, who might be nursing ambition to run for 2027?
Yes, thank you so much. You know, politics in Nigeria is personal. It's highly individualistic. So whether Peter Obi is from Anambra Soludo is supporting President Tinubu, then the underlying factor there is self-interest. That is politics in Nigeria. So self-preservation. Soludo wants to preserve himself first before Peter Obi, right? So it is not out of place in Nigeria. That is Nigeria politics for you. Peter Obi is from there, yes, very renowned, very highly accepted, very wonderful. But the point is that Soludo will first of all count himself before Peter Obi, and that is what he has done, and that is what he's doing. So I don't think it's a wrong calculation, as it were. It's that Peter Obi must prove himself and work for himself to get there. But for Soludo to lower his guards for him, I don't think that's not the political situation we find ourselves in Nigeria, unless elsewhere. That's the truth about the matter.
Now, let's also come to some of the strong points that might count in favor of Governor Soludo's re-election as well, is the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu commended the payment of the new minimum wage in Anambra, saying that it is above the national average. What do you make of this implications in terms of scoring strong points ahead of the elections?
Please take that question again. I didn't get what you said, Tinubu said about him.
My question is on the Governor Soludo's performance, noting that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu commended the payment of the new minimum wage in Anambra, saying it is above the national benchmark. How much of this does this score for the governor in terms of his performance scorecard?
Yes, that is expected because he came to commission projects, and those projects were and are done by the governor. So if there's no other thing, he has seen projects that he's to commission. The truth about Soludo is that, he's not very media friendly. That is why the media don't really, take up his achievements. But for Anambra, those that are close to Anambra State, they will tell you that he's doing a lot. But the media are not, projecting him so well because of his attitude to the media. So what has transpired there is that Soludo is doing well, and don't forget the latest thing he's doing there. The ritualist is taken into account, as it were, right now, which has actually affected Anambra for some years. The thing has reduced insecurity in Anambra, and is a very key point for him, because beyond any other thing, insecurity is a very big issue in this country. And any state governor, see what's happening in Imo State as we speak. 2 days ago, 3 days ago, up to yesterday, killings everywhere. I mean, if you have a state that is safe, like what Soludo has made Anambra to be to a good extent right now, nobody wouldn't say that, look, he has done well. So for Tinubu to commend him,
hello, Mr. Sam Otuoye. It almost seems as though we had an interruption on the end following some glitches with the network. But restating part of the commendations coming in from both President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the governor of Anambra State, Chukwuma Soludo, on the part of the governor, the president has commended the payment of the new minimum wage in Anambra, saying it has exceeded the national benchmark. The figures in Anambra, not to be quite too certain, but above 70,000 naira is what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has commended, following the commissioning of the Solution Fund City and the Anambra Government House Mini City. Now, on the part of the governor, he has also endorsed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the APGA's presidential candidate going into 2027. And before Mr. Sam was interrupted, he was discussing and analyzing how this might affect the chances of kinsman support for Mr. Peter Obi, who is an indigene of Anambra State, and the political permutations ahead of 2027. Now, if we have Mr. Sam rejoining this conversation, let's pick on another issue in the news, Mr. Sam.
Okay.
The second issue in the news is the controversy surrounding the presidential jet. Now, the presidency newly acquired a jet and it's been spotted in South Africa. The Punch newspaper is headlining that story as repainting or refitting and questioning why this newly acquired presidential jet, which they purport is being leased, is in South Africa for some sort of renovation.
Okay, thank you so much. Presidential presidential yachts, and all of those. You see, these for me are non-issues for now. Those are not the issues that are bothering Nigerians. Yes, a presidential jet can have a fault and goes for repairs, but I don't think it should be an issue that should take the front burner. Human beings get sick and they go for treatment, just like every other thing, automobile and other machines. So I don't think it's an issue that should bother us. After all, servicing it in South Africa is a function of where you have the experts that can do it and do it well. Given what we are churning out in Nigeria, even in the health sector. Everybody goes out there, all the politicians, they go out there for treatment and all of those. So same way they've taken the presidential jet out of the country for renovation, refurbishment, and repairs. So I don't think it's a major issue for me, because that is one of the listings on our minds. We are talking about major issues. It should go anywhere and repair the private jet. That is not for me personally. It's not my problem. But the important thing is that let things move, let things, begin to move on in Nigeria. Let the masses begin to breathe, and all those things for me are non-issues. Electricity is nowhere to be found. Many places where I stay, there has not been light, in Abuja here. So these are the major issues we are talking about. He can repair his private jet anywhere. He can, even if it's a refurbished private jet that they bought. I mean, yes, it's part of corruption. That's what we're talking about. But beyond that, let's focus on major issues. When we get those things right, these things are non-issues, as it were. They will fall in line. I think that's my opinion on that.
All right, let's talk about one issue that is indeed an issue in Nigeria, is the spate of rising insecurity across states in the country. Now, the Defense Headquarters has come out to publicly tell Nigerians that it has identified foreign headers as being responsible for community attacks in Benue and Plateau states. Now, it's also being backed by calls from TY Danjuma for the constitution of state police. It's been quite disheartening that Nigerians are being asked to protect themselves and defend themselves, resulting to encouraging light weapons and small ammunitions as the first step of community defense. Let's get your thoughts on this. First off, a report from the Defense Headquarters and the call for self-defense and state police.
Thank you so much. I've talked about this insecurity before this time. And honestly, it's funny that Defense Headquarters is just coming out now to say that there are foreign mercenaries and all that. We have known this before. It's not new. They've not told us anything that Nigerians did not know. Many years ago, Kaduna, former Kaduna State Governor, Rufai, said so, that they brought them in from other countries, Niger and all of those, for them to come and help them win election, right? And here they are. Of course, they won't go back. That is the after effect of such arrangements. When you bring in a devil to assist you get healing, the devil will take over you. That devil will not leave you because you have become his candidate, right? So he has control over you. Even if he's not there with you, he remote controls you because he knows you're inside out. He knows you in and out. So what we are passing through is that particular arrangement that was made many years ago, which, of course, I'm not saying what is not in the public domain. Rufai claimed it. He owned it up, that they brought them in. So here they are, and that is what is going on. So defense headquarters is not telling us anything new. And to see how the thing has infiltrated everywhere. You heard what happened in Imo State in Aba Road. All those guys. This morning I saw a video where they filmed those guys in the forest. You know, those guys are kidnapped. So what is happening in the north has shifted to the west, and here we are in the east. And what is the solution to that? Yes, every traditional rulers everywhere in the east are calling for they're calling on their sons and daughters overseas abroad to come and assist them so that they can acquire some of these things, machines to use to protect themselves. But is that the solution to the problem? No. These guys that are coming, they have more sophisticated arms than the ones that we can acquire to defend ourselves. Even with those ones we have, they will still decimate us. So it is not the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem should be national. It should be a federal government project.
Now talking about a national solution, the National Assembly has been deliberating on the need for a security summit. It's also received some level of criticism as to it being just a formal gathering of security heads to dialogue on proposals like state police that should have been implemented. What do you make of the position of the National Assembly and this talk about the need for a national security summit?
Thank you so much. You know, we've had so many summits in this country. The point is, at the end of the day, what comes out? What do those summits produce? It's all about pieces, you know. So what I'm trying to say is, if we go practical, yes, state police is good, regional police is good, but you know the federal is afraid of it because of the effect it will have on them. That's why they've not allowed it to work, because they're afraid that if that happens, state governors are already empowered with the policemen to do whatever they want to do. They can even confront the federal side of it and all of those. That's why they don't want it to work. But let them talk about vigilante affairs. Let them reduce that, because when they call it police, the federal government will begin to panic. Let them call it vigilante, and let them equip them with sophisticated weapons. What can match the foreign machineries? That is what it is. So when I talk about national strength to insecurity, the federal government knows what to do. They know that they can go into collaboration with into partnership with other countries of the world that have faced this situation. But they don't want to do so. Some time ago, I was on this program. I made mention of how Americans came into Nigeria to rescue one of their own. And they rescued that guy without what would I call it now? Without stress, as it were. So they know what to do. If they want this thing to stop, honestly, within weeks, this thing will stop. Look, okay, the forests they are in the southeast, the forests they are in the southwest, the forests they are in the north, are they not Nigerian forests? They are Nigerian forests. They can be trapped. They can be arrested. They can be decimated.
Now, Mr. Sam, on the receiving end of this rising insecurity and incessant killings are certain ethnic minorities that are alleging that it is a plot to have some sort of ethnic cleansing and reduce their numbers ahead of the next population census. I don't know what you make of situations and claim by these ethnic minorities.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think there's a point there because of the way these things are going and because of history. You know, this insecurity, this issue of ethnic cleansing, this issue of taking over the country has a historical perspective. And the historical perspective is very substantial because people, northerners of high status, northerners of high profile, made comments about that, which are in the public domain, as it were. So if they had spoken about it before now, and now we are seeing the implementation, I think there's some cause for concern, and there's some cause to raise an eyebrow to say, look, this thing that was said many years ago is being implemented now. That is the truth. So talking about it, you know one thing, even the president himself, this thing is happening in his quarters in the West. See, you can't tell me that he doesn't love himself, he doesn't love his people. Even if he doesn't love other people, he first of all love his people. But he has not been able to quell what is going on there. Meaning that this particular issue is beyond the ordinary. It is founded in the history of this country, which we all know. Some of us are historians, some of us are history students, right? We've read some of those accounts of the Ahmad Bellos, of the migration and the control and all of those things. And those things are what we are seeing now. So it is not out of place for anybody to talk about ethnic cleansing. It's not out of place for anybody to say, look, some people have an agenda to take over this country. Even up to the last regime of President Muhammadu Buhari, we heard some of those comments. And here we are today, confronting them. They are just before us. And the concern now is, how do we get out of it? I think that is what we need to be discussing now. But for that, it has come. And the point now is, how do we get out of it? And I think it will take National Summit, Security Summit, is, for me, is academic. Is academic. They must do something that is practical. They must get some collaborations with other nations that can help us to quell this situation. Because now that the thing has infiltrated into the East, mind you, before now they were talking about North. After North, they were talking about West. And now we are talking about East. So where else? Is this South South? Very soon it will get into that place.
Now Mr. Sam, if you recall last year, there was a publication by the Interpol saying that it had records of those who were sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria. I don't know that despite these records being said to be available, why is it that we somewhat lack the political will to find and prosecute the sponsors of terrorism financing in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you so much. You see, the one thing that is interesting about this insecurity is that the president in power is not an ordinary. If he were to be an ordinary, they would have said, oh, you know, it's his people, is that his brothers, that's why he doesn't want to. Because that list that was sent by from I think Dubai or so, UAE, people's names are there, and people said we know them, and up to today nothing has happened. Could it be that President Tinubu is afraid of bringing those people to book when the situation is escalating to this point? That would be wickedness on his part. But I think there's something beyond what is going on. There's something beyond what's going on. Because that list we are talking about has, I think, is over 3 years. Or about that thing came. And from reliable source, Interpol. And here we are, treating it the way we are treating other issues in Nigeria. I think Nigeria, the truth about the whole situation is that Nigeria is overwhelmed with corruption to the extent that lives are no more an issue. Lives of Nigerians don't matter again. That is where we have found ourselves. And what are they talking about? Self-protection. To what extent can we protect ourselves? To what extent? What do we have? So the truth about the matter is, if the government wants the situation to change, it will change. Remember what the military head of state, what's his name again? Sani Abacha said. He said these things can only happen over 24 hours if the government hand is in it. If the government hand is in it, that's what he said. So now we are. The thing is lasting for years. What it means that government hands, heads, shoulders, legs are in it. And what do we do? What do we do? That is the question we should be asking. Because it is getting out of hands. And the earlier, the better. Is it even earlier now? You know how many people that have died in the course of this whole headers, farmers clash, kidnapping, and all of those. But here we are, looking up to God, because I think God is the only solution that can help us at this point. Leadership has failed Nigerians, so we should be calling on God to help us. Thank God for the men of God that are praying. I think their prayer will work for us that believe in prayers and the miracles of God.
Now Mr. Sam, let's also look at a peculiar situation in Benue State, where this insecurity has also caused some sort of fractured relationship between the executive and legislative arms of government. The governor, Reverend Father Ali, has been summoned by the House of Representatives, a summon which he has refused to honor, citing that these attacks are sponsored to impeach him from power. I don't know, it almost seems as though these killings, beyond affecting common Nigerians, have some sort of political coloration about it. What do you make about the situation in Benue State and how it's affecting the working relationship between the executive and legislative arms?
Yeah, thank you so much. First is that, Governor Ale is not a true Nigerian politician. Coming from the pulpit, he's still behaving like somebody that is a stranger to Nigerian politics. If he plays by the rules of Nigerian politics, he won't be having that challenge he's having with the legislative arm. That is the truth. The legislative arm in every state is being swallowed by the governor in the case of he buys whatever he wants. Let me put it that way. His business. You trade this, I trade this. That is what they do. So Governor Alia does not understand that politics of buying whatever you want. If he does that, there will be peace in that state. That relationship will be held. But as long as he keeps deferring the doomsday, as it were, he will continue to have that problem. So a politician many years ago said that, a politician from Anambra State, precisely, I won't mention his name, he said when he came out the first time to contest for senatorial seat, that he didn't know politics. He didn't know that politics is a murky water, that you must swim in it for you to survive. That he failed that election. That when he now came out, after getting the understanding of what politics in Nigeria is, that he rode in, full-blown, swam in that murky waters, and he got results. So, Governor Alia, if he wants to succeed with those guys, he must be ready to swim in the murky waters of politics of Nigeria.
So in other words, you're saying he should honor the invitation of the House of Representatives?
House of Assembly?
Yes, please. House of Assembly.
You know something that happens in life. I had a case when I was a bank manager where a customer of mine who I was supposed to go standing for a particular transaction, he called me and said, "Manager, don't go. They want to ridicule you." I was still going to stand in for him, but he knew I was happy because he was realistic. So asking Ali to go to meet those guys, they will ridicule him, and that is why he's refraining from going there. And I think he should use his executive powers and overcome that situation. Do some contacts. He should know what to do to get those guys calm down and not getting to them for them to embarrass him.
Quite interesting takes, Mr. Sam. I'd ask that you just stay with us for a bit. We need to take a quick commercial break. Stay with us on the line. We'll be right back to you to pick up from where you left off on this conversation.
Thank you so much.
Now, Mr. Sam, having listened to the President of the Senate, Senator Akpabio, and his comments over the stance of Mr. Peter Obi, do you care to share your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you so much. You see, what the Senate President has said, I think he should have said it in a different way, because all of us, Nigerians, are aware that the labor of our heroes past are almost in vain. They are almost in vain. What are their labors and what do they expect? You see, what do I call it now? That phrase, you know, is not. You don't take it on the surface. What it means is that these people that have suffered for this country, that tried their best, put in their efforts, sacrificed a lot for the country to stand, are they happy where they are today? If they come back to this country and see it the way it is, would they be happy? That is what that heroes past thing is all about. So if anybody says that, oh, their labors are in vain because of the way things are today, I don't think the person is talking in error. That is the truth. If Edwin K just died, bring back those ways, you know, that we are here doing everything to get this country together, and here we are today, and they come back and see this country this way, they will shed tears. That is what it is. So the heroes, the labor of the heroes past are almost gone. Peter Obi is right.
Now quite similarly, Mr. Sam, quite similarly, has been a reference to the state of the country currently as to what it was in the 1960s, as made by the president of the AFDB, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, who has also received quite another clampdown from Mr. Bayo Nanuga, who says in no way is Nigeria worse off than it was in the 1960s. I don't know if it's the same situation here at play, but do you think that currently, economically speaking, as against the quality of life of Nigerians, we are better off than we were in the 1960s than we are now?
They are the same thing. What Onanuga said is exactly what the Senate President has also said. And my position is that what Adesina said and what Peter Obi said are the same things. And I stand with them. Honestly, it is not debatable. But the truth about the matter is, as government in power, as part of the government in power, you don't speak ill about what you are operating. So these are operators of the current government. The Senate President is an operator. The spokesperson to the President is an operator in his own right. So they can't say it is true. We don't expect them to do that. They are image makers, right? But we are talking about facts on ground. The facts on ground speak to the point that the labors of our heroes past are almost in vain. I did a piece some time ago on the Enugu State Governor, Peter Obi, how he was getting things back in Enugu State. The presidential hotel and other facilities that were abandoned. And I said, look, the people that did those projects, that started those projects, that established those companies and all of those, if they come back now and see what Peter Obi is doing, they will be happy. That is what it is. The heroes, the levels of our heroes part, if they come back and see what is going on in this country now, the level of insecurity, the poverty in the land, how people are dying, going to bed hungry, people cannot pay school fees and all of those, would they be happy? So please and please and please, let's call the fact and forget about politicizing everything. Peter Obi is right, Adesina is right. That's my position.
Now, talking about some of these facts, to start with is the purchasing power parity of Nigerians. As much as the minimum wage has been increased, many economics argue that the true purchasing power parity of that sum is not as strong as it was in the 1960s, even though with a lesser sum, when you compare it with the dollar equivalent. As a business editor, would you like to discuss on this amongst the other facts that you say? Speak to the issue on where we are as a nation in terms of its factor representation.
Thank you so much. You know, there are a lot of indices. These things are not theoretical. They are very practical. They are mathematical, right? They are statistical. So when you talk about increase in national wage and all of those, you also look at the end point of it. The end point of it is the purchasing power of what you have increased. See what inflation has done to the purchasing power. Those days, in the 80s, in the 70s, you could buy a brand new Peugeot car for 7,000 naira. That is the value we are talking about. We are talking about value of money, not the quantity. You could talk about, let the minimum wage be 200,000 naira. It will still not solve anything. You must address the thing that is at the foundation of the problem. Honestly, if you address inflation and other macroeconomic headwinds, even if you pay 10,000 naira as minimum wage, everybody will go home happy. You will spend the money to the poor. I read about somebody in the UK. The lady said, look, what she's paid as per part-time job she does, not her full month salary, takes care of her groceries for 1 month. That is value. Let's look at the value of what you're paying us and not the amount. I think that is where they're getting it wrong. Right? So inflation is an issue. Inflation is an issue. Let's address the issue and leave the platitudes. Look at production we are talking about and export. If we don't address those things, and insecurity, we must address it first before we begin to produce, because people don't go to farm. How would you get the production? How will you get the products to export? The oil we are talking about, how are we getting it? See the theft, see the killings there. So what we are saying is, look, no matter how much you pay, as long as it does not compete with the purchasing power of goods and services, it doesn't make sense. That is what it is. That is what it is. That's my position on it.
Now, on the part of the quality of life of Nigerians and life expectancy as well, people talk about the mental health challenges of having to grapple with the current economic realities and how people had probably a higher life expectancy back in the day than it is now. I don't know if this is a factual statement or it is just based on one of those analysis of how hard the times have become.
Thank you so much. You see, in Nigeria, everybody is talking about medical tourism. Medical tourism. That was not what we had in the 70s. At least I'm over 50. So I've seen so many things happen in this country. You know, in the 70s, I was in primary school. In the 80s, I was in secondary school. So I've seen a lot. And I can tell you that, look, those days, you know that those days, there was what was called dispensaries. Dispensaries. People retired. One of my uncles retired from that medical unit, where they are located beside schools because of those minor accidents. You are cutting grass and the knife cuts you. And you are walking and you fall and all of those things. There were dispensaries that were functional. Drugs were there, right? But today, even at hospitals, there are no drugs. I watched a video of somebody talking about the federal hospital Abuja here. You know how the place is and all of those. That is what we are seeing today. And talking about mental health here cannot be overemphasized. When you go to bed hungry, you don't know when the next meal is coming. Your children are out of school. You can't pay their fees. Your mental health is gone. Your psychology is finished. So what we are seeing is a replica of what our leaders are giving us. The earlier they let us breathe, the Nigerian people breathe, the better for us. We have the resources. we have everything to make that work. They don't want to make it work. Even the insecurity, we have everything to make it work, to reverse this situation. Until we agree, I'm talking about leaders, because you and I, common people, we can't do much. Our leaders must agree. That day they agree that, say, this things will stop, I bet you they will stop. But as long as they continue to defend what is wrong, Additional said this, Peter Obi said this, nothing will work, because what they've said are true. All those they said are true. So mental health, medical facilities in Nigeria, there are nothing to write home about. They were better those days than today. No matter the number of, I've talked about quality and not quantity. We look at amount, number. Hey, there are medical hospitals everywhere. Every state now has this. Every village now has this. Every community now has this. No, that is not what is important. What is important is what is going on in those places, those facilities. What is going on there? Are they getting their subvention? Are the subvention being utilized as appropriate? Nigerians, are they getting medical treatment as at when due, to the extent of what they should get? Yes, that's kudos to, I don't know, the government that introduced this NHIS. At least it has helped some people, particularly federal civil servants. It has helped some of them. I'm a witness to my cousin who went to Babalada Hospital, and I looked after him, and I used NHIS code, his own, to run the expenses. Just a safe few drugs that they didn't have that I had to go buy outside. I was impressed. I'm talking, I talk about practicability. I'm talking something practical. That is what I saw.
On the use of the National Health Insurance Scheme to also cut down the cost of having to pay out of pocket for basic health care, I do agree with you. But the challenge here to this other side of the story is the conversation on how the deplorable state of our power supply has affected healthcare delivery, using the University Teaching Hospital in Ibadan as a case study, where for over 60 to 80 days, they were without power up until the issue was rectified by the state government following its intervention. Overall, Bin, how would you rate how power supply in Nigeria is affecting healthcare?
Thank you so much. Power, electricity is as good as the food we eat, because it's so important in all facets of human existence, because it powers any other thing that you think can work. Without electricity, a colleague of mine that armed robbers came into their estate last week said that they came under very thick darkness. There was no light, and they used that opportunity to raid the place. So electricity, power is very key for any development to happen. Medically, socially, industrially, power is very key. So the medical facilities all over the country, they're suffering the same thing. The ones in the villages, that's why I said, are they working? How well are they working? It's not about setting them up. Many of them don't have generators. So if there's any emergency, they can't attend to them. So power is very key. There's nothing to dispute about it. For medical coordination and successful surgeries and all of those. Even the issue of safekeeping of drugs in the freezers and all that. If you don't have power, those things will spoil. They will expire. When COVID drugs were coming in, other countries were helping us with it, and they were telling us how to refrigerate and all of those. You saw what happened. There was crisis because of lack of electricity.
Now the conversation even gets even more interesting, Mr. Sam, based on the fact that the IMF and World Bank are recommending the removal of all subsidies in Nigeria to include electricity subsidy. And if you recall, in February, the Minister of Power, Chief Adebayo Adelabu, said that going forward, Nigerians would have a new cost-reflective tariff off the back of Band A that was introduced last year, and a lot of Nigerians grumbled about it. It almost seems as though we are all going to be migrated to Band A, speaking for other electricity consumers that are not already on that band. And with the removal of fuel subsidy, electricity subsidy, are you sure Nigerians will be able to afford the new electricity tariffs going forward with the cost of living we're already complaining about?
Yeah, thank you so much. I, for one, my house in Enugu, right, is under Band A. And when that thing happened, I never knew that they had migrated my area to Band A. All I was noticing was, if I recharge 5,000, the thing goes. If I recharge 5,000, the thing goes. I was like, what is the problem? I had to go to NEPA, to EED's office, to make a report. There and then, that was when they told me that, that my area has been migrated to Band A. I said, what? They said yes. That we are paying, we are having 1,000 now is for 4 kilowatts, right? I said, wow. You know what? When I came out from that place and I was going home, I was buying food at a point where a woman, why I just, let out the discussion. And the woman was like, wow, is that true? That the husband has been on her neck for some time now. That how come this thing is running very fast now? Is that what happened? I say, yes, madam. I'm just coming out from EED's office now. I went to make an inquiry. I went to make a report that my meter is bad. I never knew that my meter was not malfunctioning, that they had migrated my area. And when they do this, they won't even announce to you. You won't know. You won't know. So that migration to Band A, if they do it across board, it will be a major problem. So many people won't afford electricity. Because if you do 1,000 for 4 kilowatts, it will finish in a matter of few hours. And how many people have 1,000 naira to run electricity for a whole day? Much more when they've not seen food to eat. So honestly, the Minister of Power, even though it's not his making, this is a leadership issue, because he can't on his own increase tariffs. No, he cannot. He's drawing his strength from the executive and from the legislature. And that is why we are asking all of them put together to do something to help Nigerians. Increasing tariffs, the other time it was MTN, the telecom aspect. And Nigeria, I did a report yesterday. As a business editor, I was analyzing what has happened with telecom, that tariff hike, and I found out from data from the telecom organizations that the data usage of Nigerians has dropped drastically up to 50%. So that is a reflection of the tariff hike. So when they do it in power, when they've increased before now, when they increase more, people will begin to drop more using electricity. And you know what that means? That one portends, in addition to the poverty they're passing through. Many more lives will be lost. And a lot of businesses will ground. I think we need to rethink. Entrepreneurs, all these startups, they cannot cope. They cannot. The big companies are not coping. Much more. Many companies are relocated because of electricity in this country. So what are we talking about? And here we are, they're talking about increasing tariffs. Migrating people to Band A. That is killing. Oh my God. I think we need to do something about the situation. The Minister of Power should please go back to the drawing board, meet the executive and the legislature, and tell them that, look, Nigerians are not accepting this offer, that the offer is killing, and let them do something about it. I think that's the much I can say about it.
Now, as we look to wrap up, I'd just like to get your thoughts. The Vatican City yesterday had the Cardinal in the conclave elect a new Pope who has now taken on the papal name of Pope Leo XIV. We're seeing felicitation messages from world leaders commending his election. And for the country America, Donald Trump has also spoken about how significant it is to have the first American Pope. We'd just like to get your thoughts on that as we wrap up this conversation.
Oh, thank you very much. First, I have to commend the Catholic Communion. You see, the Catholic Church is one of the most organized, if it is not the most organized organization in the world, the Catholic Church. I'm not a Catholic, I'm Anglican, but I give it to them. Go to their parishes, go to their dioceses, see everything they do, their CW, their women group, and all those groups, their knighthood and all that. Go and see their premises. Sparkling clean. Oh, I love those guys, right? I'm not one, but I love them. They're doing very good. See their elections. Wonderful. So I joined the fellow world people, leaders of faith to appreciate and commend the election and congratulate the new Pope. America is good news for America. The first ever Pope coming from America. And you saw what President Trump did, wearing the regular of a Pope. When I saw it, I called my colleagues in the office, in the newsroom. I told them that, watch out, something is coming up.
So you think that action was premeditated or might have influenced the election?
Oh, what are you talking about? Well, President Trump, you don't trifle with him. He's a strong man, and I love him. You know why? This is a guy that no matter what the criticisms you bring along his way, he pushes it aside and moves on. He has moved on. Here we are having an American Pope, and you will see how Catholic Church will run and the world Christianity will run, because Trump has been a Christian faithful. So you will see what will happen. It will change the face of religion in the world. That is what's going to happen. So we expect better days for Christianity. We expect better days for religion in the world, because things are going to shift. Having Trump there behind an American Pope, having the Catholic being the largest church in the world, a lot of things will change for the better for Nigeria, for the world, and it will have a positive ripple effect on Nigeria. That's the truth. The implication will favor Nigeria, because the Christians in Nigeria have suffered so much, and I think it will be addressed. The suffering of Christians in Nigeria will be addressed more vocally and practicably, as it were. That is what I think. Well, congratulations to the Pope.
We must also thank you for your high hopes for the world's 1.4 billion Catholics who now have a new Pope. We appreciate you for taking our time to share your thoughts with us in reaction to the stories making the rounds this morning. Have a nice day, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That was